It was nighttime when the taxi came to a halt, rain pattering against the windows. "We're here, miss," the cab driver said, glancing back at his passenger. "You don't look so well. Do you want me to send you to the hospital?" "No thanks, keep the change," the lady replied quietly, handing him some money. She wore a sad and sickly expression. Collecting the fare, the driver thought of her as a weird passenger. Stepping out of the taxi, she opened her umbrella to shield herself from the rain. Approaching her apartment, sounds of intimacy floated from inside. She paused, not entirely surprised. Unlocking the door, she sighed before pushing it open. Inside, her fiancé was entwined with another woman, their heavy breaths filling the room. With a stern gaze, he acknowledged her presence. "You're back," he stated casually before returning his attention to the other woman beside him. His fiancée responded with a stern look as he finished his last thrust. "Make something for me, I'm hungry," he ordered, ignoring her presence as he wrapped his lower body. "Wayne, is this your domestic helper?" "She's quite young," remarked the unknown woman. "Why are you still here?" he snapped, his tone harsh. "Wayne," the unknown woman teased. "Scram," he shouted at the unknown woman, who left them as his fiancée also headed into the kitchen. As she prepared something, Wayne entered, a cigarette hanging from his lips as he attempted to light it. "Come with me to the party tomorrow afternoon," Wayne said, interrupting her thoughts. "I'm not feeling well," she replied. Before she could suggest staying home, Wayne cut her off. "No, this is a project that I have to get." "Okay," she said calmly. For the past 5 years, Wayne had dragged her to various parties, turning a blind eye to those who took advantage of her. Slicing the fish, she thought, "He's taking revenge for my betrayal that time," before accidentally cutting herself. As she lifted her hand, seeing the blood drop, she made a decision. "Wayne Luo, let's break up," she told him. "Break up? You can forget about it," Wayne said, his fury evident as he approached her, his hand gripping her neck. "You caused my family to be a laughingstock 5 years ago when you ran away from our wedding, and now you're thinking of betraying me again?" he demanded, tightening his grip. "I'm not," she managed to say, struggling to breathe. "I ignored the violent objections of my family then and looked for you all over the world like a fool," Wayne continued, easing his grip slightly. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to explain. "No, it's not like that," she managed to say. "Sophia Tang, I feel disgusted just looking at you now. It feels like I've dirted my hand when I touch you," Wayne spat out, his words dripping with spite. "In that case, why don't you let me go? I promise I'll never appear in front of you again, and you'll never be disgusted by me," Sophia pleaded. "Stop dreaming. Even if I have to tie you up, I'll keep you by my side," Wayne declared, his expression cold. "I'm going to torment you day and night. You'll wish you were dead. I'll make you pay the price for your betrayal," he added before forcefully releasing her and storming out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind him. Alone and broken, Sophia sank to her knees on the floor, weeping. "He used to love me with all his heart and swore to pamper me my whole life. The reason he's become like this is because of what happened 5 years ago," she thought, consumed by sorrow. It was 5 years ago on Sophia's wedding day, a day meant to be the pinnacle of joy. Holding a bouquet of flowers, she wondered, "I am curious if Wayne will kiss me in excitement when I see him later," as she waited in the bride's room. However, the situation took a bewildering turn when she suddenly lost consciousness, unable to recall the moment it happened. Awakening in a hospital bed, weak and disoriented, she was blindsided by the doctor's announcement, "You have to rest well for a couple of days. Your body will be weaker after you just gave birth," she said. Shocked, Sophia struggled to comprehend how she could have been pregnant without knowing it. "Pregnant? Who was the one that made me pregnant? Where's the baby?" she asked. The doctor's silence only deepened her confusion, leaving her swirling with emotions, bewilderment, fear, and a sense of disconnection from her own life. The gentle rhythm of the fore-drip offered a semblance of calm amidst the turmoil. She only had memories until the day of the wedding. Without the medical records as proof, she would have found it impossible to believe she had given birth. The explanation that she had been brought to the hospital after nearly drowning, an event that erased her memory of her pregnancy, only added to her perplexity. As she lay there, questions echoed in her mind, unanswered and haunting. How could she have forgotten such a significant part of her life? The silence that met her inquiries left her adrift, trapped in a cycle of torment and uncertainty. The looming presence of her fiancé, Wayne Luo, whose intentions remained veiled in menace, compounded her torment and uncertainty. "Miss Tang," someone called, snapping Sophia back to the present. "Miss Tang," an elderly man called her as he smiled wryly at her as he proposed a toast. She thought, how revolting. "Thank you, President Zhu," she said, forcing a smile of gratitude as she drank the wine. "I can't take it anymore," she thought. Feeling dizzy, she excused herself and made her way out of the meeting room as she heard President Zhu laughing and saying, "Oh, Wayne, this girl you brought is not bad," tears streaming down her face as she sought solace in the restroom. The faint echoes of laughter followed her, a cruel reminder of her vulnerability. In her haste, she collided with a stranger, tumbling into his arms. Her head spun as the stranger asked, "Aren't you going to get up?" Her apology was a feeble murmur amidst her disorientation gripping her. Sophia's grip tightened on the stranger as dizziness enveloped her. Before he could finish his thought, he shouted at her, "Let go." Her senses failed her amidst the swirling chaos, prompting a swift apology as she withdrew her hands, her head swimming with disorientation. The young man's expression was vexed. Without hesitation, he grabbed her and pulled her over. Their sudden tumble to the ground left Sophia sprawled atop him, her world spinning out of control. He instructed his assistant to turn around, which he did willingly. With gentle strength, he held her into a sitting position. "Ugh. I feel like puking," she said tearfully as he ordered her to shut up, trying to stand up, and upon doing so she puked on him, and she felt a moment of clarity. "Phew, that felt good," she smiled. Apologies tumbled from her lips as she sought assistance, oblivious to the identity of the man who she had soiled. Only when she glanced up did she realize her unwitting companion was none other than Marco Jian, the enigmatic and powerful figure who commanded the city with a mere gesture. Regret and disbelief mingled in Sophia's mind as she grappled with the implications of her unexpected encounter. How had she become entangled with someone like Marco Jian? The weight of her actions bore down on her, leaving her questioning her own judgment. In a cruel twist of fate, Sophia's consciousness faltered once more, her body succumbing to the overwhelming turmoil of the moment. As she slumped unconscious to the floor, Marco Jian watched impassively and said, "She fainted. You know how to handle this, don't you?" His assistant, at a loss for how to proceed in the face of this unexpected turn of events, said, "Not really." As Marco departed, his decree of a penalty hung in the air, leaving the assistant in stunned silence. Marco thought, "What's going on? I was actually not against having contact with this woman." The assistant's fingers moved swiftly over his phone's screen, summoning emergency assistance to the scene. Marco's departure left behind a lingering sense of bewilderment, his own thoughts, a tumult of confusion and unexpected emotions. Marco looked back and thought, could it be that my gynophobia was cured? Marco pondered inwardly, his look startled his assistant into a shocked pause. As Marco cast a lingering glance back at Sophia, his assistant hastened to attend to her, grappling with the sudden shift in their circumstances. As the assistant navigated the hospital corridors, attracting curious and concerned stares. Their journey through the hospital was interrupted by the curious encounter of a young boy, as he called, Uncle, who brazenly accused the assistant of nefarious intentions towards Sophia. Li, the assistant, called the young boy a little master, as he attempted to defuse the situation, thinking, "Please let it go, little master." The boy's bargaining chip, knowledge of previous victims, sent a shiver down Li's spine, but he quickly redirected the conversation towards lighter topics, enticing the boy with promises of future gifts and adventures. "I know Uncle Li treats me the best," the boy said, feeling happy. Relieved by the boy's acquiescence, Li continued his quest for medical assistance, grateful for the respite from further complications. As they made their way through the hospital corridors, the young boy's curiosity bubbled forth once more. "Who's this beautiful lady you're carrying, uncle?" he inquired innocently. "I'm not quite sure," Lee replied, his tone tinged with amusement. "Your daddy scared her so much that she fainted." The boy's brow furrowed in contemplation, his mind swirling with thoughts beyond his years. "Other women can't wait to give themselves to Dad when they see him," he mused thoughtfully, yet she was actually so scared that she fainted? Could this be it, the fated girl that God arranged for me? With each step, his imagination ran wild, envisioning a potential romance unfolding before him. Does she have a boyfriend? Does she mind having a younger boyfriend? He wondered, the possibility sparking a flicker of excitement within him. Meanwhile, Lee maintained a steady pace, his focus unwavering as he sought out a doctor to tend to Sophia. Sophia was slowly regaining consciousness, receiving the care she needed. The boy, with an air of authority unbefitting his age, started ushering Lee out of the room. "You don't need to stick around here. I got this," he said, half-jokingly nudging Lee towards the door. "Wouldn't want to get in the way of my time with this beautiful lady," he added with a grin that was too mischievous for his own good. Soon after, Sophia stirred, letting out a soft cough as she opened her eyes to the unfamiliar surroundings. "Oh, you're awake? Beautiful lady, how do you feel?" the boy inquired with a mix of concern and excitement in his voice. Sophia, still disoriented, managed to sit up, her eyes settling on the young boy standing at her bedside. "Who are you, kid?" she asked, confusion lacing her words. The boy giggled as he straightened up, cleared his throat with an exaggerated gesture, and introduced himself with a flourish. "Hello, beautiful lady, let me introduce myself. My name is Romeo Jen." "Yes, Romeo as in Romeo and Juliet. I am your future husband," he declared, his face breaking into a hopeful smile. Sophia couldn't help but let out a surprised smirk. "My, what a declaration to make," she said, taken aback yet amused. He continued, "It's love at first sight. I believe that you'll fall for me too." She thought, what a cute kid, as she giggled. "Thank you, but I can't be your wife because I already have a fiancé," she gently let him down. Romeo said with a straight face, "That doesn't matter. I've learned on television that if you like something you should fight for it." His words were earnest, reflecting a simplicity and innocence that touched Sophia's heart. Sophia smiled softly, a warm feeling spreading through her. "Thank you, young man. It's been quite some time since someone has made me feel so valued," she shared, her voice tinged with a hint of sadness. Romeo's expression turned thoughtful, a slight frown forming as he processed her words. "Beautiful lady, are you unhappy about it?" he asked, his concern genuine. "No, I'm not," Sophia admitted, her gaze meeting his. Changing the subject slightly, she asked, "And what about you? Are you here by yourself? Where are your parents?" The shift in conversation marked a moment of connection between them, opening the door to a deeper understanding and perhaps the beginning of an unexpected friendship. "I haven't had a mommy since I was young. I only have a daddy, and he's a super-duper cold-blooded baddie who only knows how to scold me, shouts at me, forbids me from doing this and that," Romeo shared with Sophia, his voice carrying a hint of vulnerability. Sophia, moved by his confession, gently urged, "Grow up quickly and work hard to become stronger. That way nobody will dare to bully you anymore." Romeo looked up at Sophia with wide eyes as she patted him on the head. With a hopeful tone, he asked, "Beautiful lady, can you protect me then?" Sophia sighed softly, her gaze filled with a mix of empathy and resignation. "I'm sorry, I can't even protect myself," she confessed. Undeterred, little Romeo hugged Sophia tightly and reassured her, "That's fine. I can protect you even though I'm still little. Grandpa and Grandma both said that I'm the little man of the house." Sophia, caught off guard by his innocence, couldn't help but be touched. "Okay, you can protect me. But before you protect me, can you tell me who you came here with? Where's your family?" "Don't worry, they'll definitely find me," a little Romeo replied with confidence, his excitement evident as he nestled in Sophia's arms. Just as the warmth of their connection was settling in, the nurse interrupted, announcing, "It's time for your injection." Little Romeo reluctantly detached himself from Sophia, and as the nurse prepared Sophia for her shot, he walked to a nearby table. In an attempt to quietly withdraw from the scene, he froze when Sophia unexpectedly called out, "Aren't you going to hand that over?" Confused, Romeo turned to her, innocently asking, "Hand what over?" "Hand it over quickly. That thing is too dangerous, it's not something that a child like you should play with," Sophia scolded Romeo. "Fine," he said as he reluctantly handed over the injection he had hidden. She continued, "A kid who steals things is not a good kid, people will not like you." "No, beautiful lady," he replied remorsefully. Suddenly the door slammed open and a lady with a disgusted look burst in. Startled, Romeo clung to Sophia. "Who's that?" Sophia asked, but Romeo was too scared to answer as he hugged her tightly. Pointing at Sophia, the woman accused her of being a human trafficker and called for the guards who suddenly appeared. Sophia and Romeo both felt a wave of fear. After the chaotic event, Marco Gian, a man who was the one Sophia had initially offended, stood in front of her. She couldn't shake off a sense of unease. "Romeo Gian," Marco ordered, "come back." However, Romeo defiantly replied, "No, I want to be with this beautiful lady. I don't want to go back." Marco turned to his staff, instructing, "Nanny Zhang, take him away." "Got it," came the nanny's reply. As she whisked little Romeo away, she said, "Little master, be good and come home with me." He resisted, "No, I don't want to go back. I want to be with the beautiful lady, I don't want to go back," he said tearfully, screaming for Sophia to save him. He didn't want to go back, he wanted to be with her. Sophia was left speechless, feeling the weight of the situation. "He's just a child," she whispered to herself. "Miss Tang," Marco Jian called, "we caused you trouble because of a mistake by our butler. Just name the compensation that you need." Sophia held her chest, a mix of emotions overwhelming her. I want." She hesitated, contemplating the consequences of her decision. "For the new energy source development project, could you consider the Luo group?" she said. Marco laughed and said, "That's the compensation that you want? You're really not holding back." Sophia hesitated, then replied, "No, that's not it. Since that's not it, then take the money and go," Marco interrupted, handing her a check for 1 million. Sophia shook her head, declining the check. "No, it's not that," she said firmly. Marco was taken aback by her refusal. "This woman seems to be so soft." As he tried to raise his hand, he thought, resisting the urge to pat her on the head. Sophia remained silent, gathering her thoughts. 1 million is too little. "I've decided to take the new energy source project instead," she declared without hesitation. "You're a greedy woman indeed," Marco exclaimed, surprised by her boldness. Sophia smiled softly, thanking him for the compliment. She had endured worse labels in the past 5 years. "That's why I don't mind another greedy label," Sophia thought. Writing another check for her. "This is 10 million. Take it and don't disturb me again," he said, handing her the check before walking away. As Sophia held the check, she pondered over the person she had become. "Who's this person standing over here now?" she wondered to herself. "This kind of person, not even I can recognize myself anymore." Returning to her apartment, Sophia could hear Wayne in bed with another woman. She entered the room without acknowledging the noise. "You're back," Wayne said, indifferent to her presence. "Yes," Sophia replied tersely. "Where did you go today?" Wayne inquired. "Hospital," Sophia responded coldly. "Who permitted you to go there?" "I've said it numerous times, we must get the contract with Boss Zhu. Yet you sneaked away at such a critical juncture? Tell me, how do you want to make amends for it?" Wayne's voice was firm with disapproval. "Sorry, Sophia murmured, her voice tinged with regret as she tried to explain. "Sorry, how much is your sorry worth?" Wayne's anger was palpable. Boss Zhu has a room at the Hilton Hotel tonight. Go and keep him company for a night. Here's the room card, Wayne instructed, handing over the card to her. Sophia trembled as she held on to the card, feeling the weight of her situation. Wayne and his spouse laughed, oblivious to her distress. One day, Wayne Luo, you'll expend every drop of love that I have for you, Sophia said, tears trickling down her cheek. After I help you get this business, we're even, she added, picking up the room card on the table beside Wayne. She was done being his slave. Where are you going? Wayne asked as Sophia stormed out of the room in tears. At the Hilton Hotel, Sophia was involved in a covert operation. Madame Zhu, I have evidence of your husband's extramarital affairs. If you're willing to sign a contract with the Luo Group, I will hand over the evidence to you. Yes, now room 666, she conveyed over a phone call to President Zhu's wife as she held the room card. Wayne Luo, this is the last favor I'll do for you. After this, we'll go our separate ways and I'll live my own life, Sophia reflected internally. Engrossed in her thoughts, she accidentally bumped into a stranger in the hallway, causing her bag to spill its contents. The lady she collided with screamed, "Don't you know how to walk properly? Are your eyes on your butt?" Despite Sophia's apologies, the lady dismissed her with a harsh, "What a jinx," as she gathered her belongings, inadvertently swapping their room cards. Feeling a wave of sickness and pondering the lady's harsh words, Sophia approached what she believed was her intended destination. I'm here, she thought, unlocking the door to room 999 and entering quietly. She noticed the sound of running water from the bathroom and pondered whether Boss Zhu was still showering. Despite feeling uncomfortable, she decided to proceed with her plan, convincing herself to endure the upcoming encounter by closing her eyes, likening it to an unpleasant necessity as she lay down. Meanwhile, Marco Jian was in the shower, feeling the aftereffects of the alcohol he had consumed earlier. Those guys really did everything they could to get me drunk, he reflected, acknowledging his overindulgence as his vision began to blur slightly. As he wrapped himself in a towel and stepped out of the bathroom, he was unaware of Sophia's presence in his room. Lying down on the bed, Marco's arm brushed against Sophia, startling him. Someone's here, he realized. Confusion clouded his thought as he wondered if they had orchestrated this encounter. You, he uttered, surprised to see Sophia sleeping before him. She seemed unaware of his presence, her eyes shut tightly. It's her, he thought. Marco's confusion only deepened as Sophia suddenly embraced him and whispered, "Hug me." Startled by her unexpected actions, Marco was too shocked to react, his mind filled with questions about the bizarre situation unfolding before him. Sophia clung to Marco, her whispered plea laden with desperation. Hold me tight and don't leave me, she implored, her hands on him in a seducing manner. Marco couldn't help but recall that pivotal night 5 years ago, the memory casting a shadow over his fidelity since. Yet Sophia's touch didn't repulse him, granting him a fleeting reprieve from his inner turmoil. Then let me use this body of mine and enjoy it as much as I can, he resolved silently. Beneath the cover of darkness, Marco and Sophia surrendered to their desires, cherishing each fleeting moment shared between them. As dawn approached, Sophia stirred, her heart heavy with a familiar ache. Wayne Luo should be very satisfied this time, she murmured, a single tear betraying her facade as she heard running water. With a resigned sigh, she knew she had to leave, her gaze searching for the absence of Boss Zhu beside her, who was in the showers. Sophia's plans to slip away were thwarted by the realization that her clothes lay in tatters. Donning the only salvageable garment, a discarded shirt, she stepped into the morning light, her figure swallowed by its oversized embrace. Suddenly a voice pierced the silence, calling her sister. Sarah Tang, her stepsister, stood before her, concern etched upon her features. Sarah Tang, why is my stepsister here, she thought. Did Boss Zhu bully you, she inquired, reaching out in a futile attempt to offer solace. But Sophia, consumed by her own tumultuous thoughts, brushed past her without a word, each step a silent plea for escape. I know you hate me, but I can't stand by and watch others take advantage of you. Sarah Tang's voice cut through the air, drawing the attention of curious onlookers. Murmurs rippled through the gathering crowd as they observed the unfolding drama. "What's going on?" "Seems like there's a show," some whispered, their interest piqued. Sarah firmly grasped Sophia's arm, urging her to retreat. "Let's go back and get father to help you," she implored. But Sophia recoiled, wrenching her arm away with a sharp retort. "Shut up, Sarah Tang." Sophia's words were laced with bitterness. "Your mother successfully worked her way up as a mistress and chased my mother and me out of the family so many years ago. I can finally have a normal life now, yet now you suddenly appear here to slander me, saying that I've been taken advantage of. What's your motive?" she asked her stepsister. Sarah stood frozen, her shock palpable as Sophia's accusations hung in the air. The gathered crowd exchanged hushed comments, piecing together the fragments of the family drama playing out before them. "So, her mother was a mistress," one woman murmured, a note of judgment in her voice. "She seems so gentle, but she's actually a scheming girl," another speculated, their eyes flickering with newfound suspicion. Sarah tried defending herself. Amidst the murmurs, Wayne Luo's voice boomed, cutting through the tension like a thunderclap. "Sophia Tang," his accusation rang out, his anger palpable as he confronted Sophia. "You're wearing a man's shirt. What did you do behind my back last night?" The air crackled with tension as Sophia braced herself for the storm of accusations that threatened to engulf her. Wayne's grip tightened on Sophia's arm, and through the haze of confusion she caught Sarah's smirk. It dawned on her then, Sarah and Wayne were complicit in this deceit. With a swift motion, Sophia wrenched herself free from Wayne's grasp. "My dear fiancé, you drugged me yourself last night for the sake of your business and sent me to another man. How could you forget about it after just one night?" Sophia's accusation pierced the charged atmosphere, drawing gasps from the crowd. Anger simmered among them, their voices rising in condemnation. "Is this man sick? Sending his fiancée to the bed of another man. He's inhuman, my God," the murmurs swirled around, echoing Sophia's indignation. Wayne's response was swift, hurling slanderous words at Sophia in a desperate attempt to deflect blame. But Sophia refused to back down, her resolve unyielding. "What are you then?" she countered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You've not touched me for 5 years, yet you bring a different woman back every day to sleep in our bed. I'm better off with another." Despite not having laid eyes on the man from the previous night, Sophia stood her ground, knowing she couldn't afford to falter. Wayne, fueled by rage and embarrassment, demanded to know the identity of the other man, his hand poised to strike. But before he could land the blow, Sophia stumbled backward, colliding with someone behind her, leaving them shocked. As she fell, Sophia's senses were overwhelmed by a familiar scent. Marco Jian's voice cut through the chaos, his question laden with curiosity and a hint of amusement. "Are you wearing my shirt because you're in love with my scent?" he questioned her. Sophia's heart pounded as realization dawned on her, the man she was with last night was Marco. Shock rippled through her, her world suddenly tilting on its axis. Last night," she stammered. Sophia was caught off guard by Marco's invitation to breakfast. "Let's go, I've specially ordered a grand breakfast for you," he said, making Sophia momentarily forget her current troubles. Wayne's abrupt interruption. "Stop right there," Wayne said, however, jolted her back to reality as he grabbed her arm, asserting his claim over her. Marco, unfazed, challenged Wayne. "Let go," he said. "She is mine, you're the one who should let go," Wayne said to Marco, questioning his intentions and warning him against further aggression. Marco issued a stern warning to Wayne, emphasizing the consequences of his actions. "You don't know what's good for you." "What use do you have for that arm?" Marco said angrily. In the ensuing scuffle, someone intervened, freeing Sophia and causing Wayne injury as he screamed. As Marco led Sophia away, he said, "This is just a small warning. If you do this again, I'll destroy that arm of yours." Wayne, nursing his arm, vowed revenge, while Sarah rushed to his aid, expressing her concern and affection. After receiving medical attention, Sarah asked him, "Wayne, how is it? Are you feeling any better?" Wayne reassured Sarah of his well-being. I was so scared. If something were to really happen to you, what should I do? Prompting her to confess her long-standing love for him. They shared a romantic moment in his car, unaware that Sophia and Marco observed from a distance. When Marco questioned Sophia about her feelings for Wayne, she denied any heartache, revealing that her love for Wayne had waned over the years. With a resolute expression, she conveyed her detachment from the situation. Marco recalled Lee's earlier revelation about Sophia Tang's unexpected appearance in his room was a mistake, realizing it was meant to be an arrangement orchestrated by Wayne Luo for Boss Zhu. Despite the circumstances, Marco found himself intrigued by Sophia's presence, sensing a twist of fate at play. Marco, undeterred, sought to rectify the misunderstanding, offering Sophia compensation for the inconvenience caused. Sophia, however, graciously declined Marco's offer, considering his earlier assistance as sufficient. Marco, persistent in his desire to help, pressed Sophia to name her desired compensation. Name it, he said with a commanding tone. With a hint of mischief, Sophia requested Marco's assistance in severing ties with Wayne Luo and ensuring her safety from him. Marco, intrigued by Sophia's request, said, "That's too simple." "What else?" he demanded as he drew closer to her in a flirtatious exchange, leaving her surprised. Amid their intimacy, Sophia confided in Marco, expressing her desire to settle down and reunite with her mother. "That's it?" he asked. "Yes, that's it," she replied. Why is he not saying anything? Were my requests too much, she thought. Marco's reaction was not immediately apparent as his attention was diverted by an unexpected phone call from his mother. Just in time, he thought. The call revealed familial pressure for Marco to marry, prompting Sophia to wonder about the complexities of Marco's affluent background. On the phone with Marco's mother, his grandmother attempted to sway him toward marriage. "My dear, you'll scare Marky like this. Here, let me talk to him. Marky, I have picked a few candidates to be my granddaughter-in-law for you. They're all very beautiful, docile, and demure." She even mentioned specially prepared tonic soups to entice him. However, Marco politely declined, suggesting they reserve those options for his other relatives who might need assistance more than him. Interrupting, Marco's aunt offered her own selection of suitors. "Marky, I'm your second aunt. Don't listen to them, they're all not dependable at all. I've prepared a few very well-mannered Adonises, and they're all very energetic," causing Sophia to laugh out loud. Her laughter was heard on the other side of the phone, causing silence. Amidst the familial insistence, Marco's mother demanded he bring his current companion, Sophia, back home immediately. Caught off guard, Sophia realized her presence had been revealed, and Marco remained silent, seemingly resigned to his mother's demands. With a final decree, Marco declared he would personally ensure he brought a daughter-in-law, ending the call abruptly. The situation left Sophia shocked, and Marco smiled, knowing it was all part of his plan to let Sophia's voice be heard and prompt his family to take the initiative to ask him to bring the female companion he was with. Sophia apologized sincerely, admitting her mistake, to which Marco Jian responded calmly, assuring her that he had a solution to help her deal with the rabid dog Wayne for good. "How?" Sophia inquired, seeking his advice. "Marriage," Marco Jian proposed plainly. Sophia was taken aback, her mind racing through the absurdity of the suggestion. "Give me your family register and identification card," he said to her, which she did. "Sign, fill out the form," Marco demanded, to which she complied. "We'll go for a photoshoot after signing." "I've already thought of the style that we should go for," he said. "Wait. Explain everything to me." "What are you doing?" she asked, trying to grasp his intent. Marco paused, then explained his reasoning. "You see, your timely presence has inadvertently helped me overcome my lifelong allergy to women, including my mother," he confessed, revealing a personal truth. "Yet you were seated in the front seat of my car earlier and your laughter was heard over the phone by the other side. Do you know what that means?" "What?" Sophia asked. "Now my family, who's been relentless about me finding a partner, can finally stop worrying." Sophia absorbed this revelation, realizing the unexpected consequences of their encounter. "I'm no longer allergic to women," Marco affirmed, a hint of stress in his voice. "And now my eager family can start sending potential matches my way. By marrying me, you'll put an end to my family's incessant pestering, and Wayne Luo won't dare to harass you anymore," Marco explained, his tone resolute. Sophia, still reeling from his proposal, confronted him about his earlier claim of being allergic to women. "But last night she started, her fear and confusion evident. Marco gently touched her chin, reassuring her. "Obviously, I'm not allergic to you," he affirmed softly. Sophia realized she couldn't keep her past hidden any longer. Honesty was necessary. "I've been engaged before and I have a child. There's a chance I may never conceive again," she confessed, bracing herself for his reaction. Marco, however, remained unfazed. "You're overthinking it," he reassured her. "All I need is a wife who doesn't trigger my allergies, and I need you to help me end all the trouble. And you need a way out of your situation. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement." He emphasized that her past and fertility were inconsequential to him. "The only thing you need to do is to be Mrs. Jian and not cause me any trouble, that's all. Whether you have given birth or whether you are able to give birth in the future, these are irrelevant questions to me," he told her. After some consideration, Sophia agreed to Marco's proposition, understanding the terms. With that, their unconventional agreement was sealed as he handed her her marriage certificate. As they arrived at Marco's house, Sophia couldn't help but be awestruck by the grandeur of the mansion. "Wow! What a huge mansion," she thought to herself, taking in the impressive sight. The butlers greeted Marco respectfully upon their arrival, referring to him as young master. Marco wasted no time informing them of Sophia's presence and instructed them to arrange for custom-made clothes for her the next day. They welcomed Sophia as the young mistress, a title that felt foreign yet oddly fitting. During lunch, Sophia inquired about Marco's child. "Where's the child?" she asked, curious. The butler explained that the young master had already eaten at school and would return home later in the afternoon. Sophia expressed her willingness to fetch him from school, a request Marco granted without hesitation. The butler insisted she rest first, promising to prepare the car when it was time to pick up the child. "Thank you very much," Sophia replied with a smile, grateful for the butler's kindness. As she settled in, Sophia couldn't shake the empathy she felt for Marco's son. Having experienced the struggles of vying for a parent's affection with another woman, she was determined to be a stepmother who wouldn't be resented. She hoped to build a bond with Marco Jian's son that would be filled with love and understanding rather than resentment. Romeo Jian's heart raced with excitement as he spotted Sophia waiting to pick him up from school. "Wow, beautiful lady, you came here specifically to fetch me, right?" he exclaimed, a spark of admiration in his eyes. "Did you miss me that much after just a few days? And do you want to be my girlfriend?" he blurted out eagerly, his steps quickening toward her. Sophia's expression softened as she watched him approach. "Yes, I came here specifically to pick you up," she began, her voice gentle but hesitant. "But there's something important I need to talk to you about." She took a deep breath, bracing herself for the conversation ahead. "If I were to marry your daddy and become your mommy, would you still like me?" Romeo's excitement faltered, his steps slowing as her words sank in. "I don't want that," he protested suddenly, his voice laced with confusion and frustration. Sophia knelt down, her gaze steady as she met his eyes. "But Romeo, I'm already married to your daddy," she confessed softly, her heart heavy with the weight of the truth. "Liar!" Romeo's accusation pierced the air, his emotions raw and unfiltered as he interrupted her. "You're a liar too, you're just like all the others, trying to seduce daddy all the time. You're all liars." His words were sharp with betrayal as he turned and fled, his small figure disappearing into the distance. "I hate you. I never want to see you again," his anguished cry echoed back to her, leaving Sophia rooted to the spot, her heart breaking for the pain she had inadvertently caused. As Romeo dashed across the road, his vision clouded with tears. He failed to notice the oncoming truck until it was too late. "Romeo!" Her voice pierced the air, filled with urgency and fear as she watched Romeo freeze in the face of danger. With instinctive speed she dashed across the road, disregarding the blaring horns and screeching brakes of the oncoming truck, leaving him dazed. Ignoring the driver's insults, she swept up Romeo in her arms and carried him to safety, her heart pounding with relief as she checked him for injuries. "Roro, are you okay?" Sophia's concern was palpable as she searched his face for any signs of harm. Despite the terror still lingering in his eyes, Romeo couldn't help but wonder why she had risked her own safety to protect him, defying the stereotypes of cruel stepmothers. "I'm fine," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, his gaze downcast with shame at his own vulnerability. "That's a relief," Sophia sighed, a hint of amusement in her voice as she suggested treating him to a meal from a famous restaurant. But Romeo, torn between hunger and lingering distrust, agreed while drooling. "Don't think you can win me over that easily and get into my good books like this," he retorted, his stomach growling in protest. Yet beneath his tough exterior he couldn't suppress a flicker of excitement at the prospect of indulging in forbidden delights. Sophia chuckled at his bravado, her affection for him evident in her gentle gaze. "Fine, I'll indulge you this once," she relented, feeling a surge of pride at his resilience. At the restaurant, Romeo scanned the menu, excitement evident in his eyes. "I want everything," he declared. "It's all because of that dad of mine. He'll never let me eat this stuff because he says that I have a weak constitution. I'm going to eat my fill today," he thought, his eyes widening with desire as he pointed out everything he longed to taste. Despite his father's strict rules, he was determined to savor every moment of this unexpected treat. But their brief respite was interrupted by the ringing of Sophia's phone, pulling her back to the harsh reality of their circumstances. It was Marco Jian, worried about their whereabouts. "Hello, Mr. Jian," she answered the phone. "Mrs. Jian, are you fetching him from the moon?" Marco's voice was tinged with concern as he questioned her over the phone. Sophia reassured him, "We're just enjoying a meal out, Marco. We'll be back late." Her heart lightened knowing that, despite the challenges they faced, she and Romeo were building a bond stronger than any stereotype could break. Marco's response was flirtatious, whispered in a tone meant only for her ears. "I want to eat you up," he murmured, eliciting a blush from Sophia. "I'm hanging up," she replied, her laughter bubbling beneath the surface as she ended the call, leaving Marco longing for more. As they enjoyed their meal, Romeo indulged in every dish with gusto, his hunger seemingly insatiable. But even as they made their way home, his appetite remained unsated, his eyes still drawn to the tantalizing displays of food in nearby restaurants. "I want to eat that too," Romeo declared eagerly as they passed another restaurant along the road, his desires reignited. Sophia, mindful of their limits, gently refused. "We've had enough today. Let's come back another time," she suggested, hoping to temper his disappointment. But Romeo, fueled by hunger and frustration, accused her of cruelty. "Stepmother, you're bullying me," he cried out, his words tinged with resentment. "I won't let you eat any more no matter what you say. You'll get an upset tummy," she said as she tried pacifying him. "Stepmothers are all baddies. She's not giving me any food, I'm so hungry," he said as he tried to create a scene. Concerned murmurs filled the air as some onlookers began to speculate about Sophia's treatment of Romeo. One elderly woman couldn't hold back her disapproval, chastising Sophia for the perceived lack of discipline. Sophia, taken aback as she recognized the voice, could only manage a weak protest. "Grandma," she started, her voice faltering under the weight of judgment. Caught between her concern for Romeo and the judgment of strangers, Sophia struggled to navigate the delicate balance of motherhood in the public eye. Sophia Tang stood her ground as her grandmother confronted her. "Where did you come from, you little slut? How dare you call me grandma? Are you trying to get into my family?" the woman demanded. As the crowd murmured, "Wow, is this some sort of Kardashian show? My father is your son. Wherever your son is from, that's where I'm from, Sophia replied firmly, her tone tinged with frustration. You must be out of your mind. How dare you talk to me with this kind of attitude, her grandma shot back, her voice rising. Why can't I talk to you like this? Sophia questioned, her patience wearing thin. I'm your grandma, her grandma exclaimed, her voice echoing with indignation. Passers-by began to take notice, their murmurs adding to the tension. Feeling the weight of the situation, Sophia apologized for her harsh words, acknowledging that she shouldn't have addressed the woman as her grandmother without confirmation. Humph. A child that was not raised by a mother is really shameless. That's why you can follow any man and become a stepmother. The apple really doesn't fall far from the tree, her grandma continued, her words cutting deep. Sophia's anger flared at the insult directed towards her mother. Sophia Tang refused to stay silent at her grandmother her accusations. You filthy, old woman, shut your trap, she ordered firmly, her frustration boiling over. Whose fault is it that I had no mother to bring me up? You ganged up with the mistress to force her into a divorce. My mother had just met with a mishap and you couldn't wait to take the mistress into the family, she confronted her grandmother, her voice trembling with emotion as tears poured down her face. Then you were so anxious to arrange for the wedding for the mistress, is this something a human can do? You're the shameless one, she said. Hearing her words, the gathered crowd murmured, wow, this old woman is something else. Another said, cold-blooded. Her grandmother's face twisted with anger at the accusations and said, you. Sophia's grandmother stuttered, raising her stick in an attempt to strike Sophia. Sophia raised her hand to shield her face, but before contact could be made and before Sophia could respond, little Romeo, sensing the tension, rushed in between them. Old hag, touch her if you dare, he warned Sophia's grandmother, his voice filled with protective determination. Rascal, you're nothing good either, the grandmother said as she raised her stick in an attempt to strike Romeo. But before she could make contact, Sophia dashed in front of Romeo, taking the blow meant for him as the grandmother smacked her more. Romeo looked at Sophia with fear in his eyes, his concern evident. Let's see if you dare to be so uncultured next time, the grandmother said as she breathed heavily. Undeterred by the pain, Sophia turned back to her grandmother, her eyes flashing with anger. You'd better remember everything that you did to me today. Very soon I'll take back everything that the Tang family owes me and my mother. Every single cent, she declared, her voice unwavering despite the ache in her heart. You, the grandmother stammered as they ignored her. You're just a little kid. Why act tough? That stick is so thick. What if it really hit you, Sophia Tang said, concern evident in her voice, relieved to have shielded little Romeo from harm, focused on him. Humph. I'm the only one who can bully you, stepmother, Romeo asserted, his tone defiant. Who does that old woman think she is, he questioned. Holding Romeo's hand, she suggested they go home, but he resisted. No. Romeo exclaimed, pulling his hand away. Spotting spices showcased in a store, he darted over and grabbed the pepper spice. How dare you come out to scare people when you're so ugly, old hag? Let's see if you dare come out again. Romeo shouted, tossing the pepper spice at Sophia Tang's grandma. With pepper all over her face, Sophia's grandma screamed in pain. You bastard, she cursed as she coughed as a result from the pepper. Seizing the moment, Sophia hurried Romeo into their vehicle, a bit scared but resolute. She ordered the driver to take them home, while Romeo grinned mischievously at his antics. Arriving home, both Sophia and Romeo, aware of Marco Jien's potential reaction, moved quietly, trying not to draw attention in the dimly lit room. But their efforts were in vain as the lights suddenly flicked on, revealing Marco Jien seated across from them, arms crossed. Mrs. Jian, little Master Jian, you guys finally found it within you to come home, he remarked dryly, his disappointment evident. His question left her and Romeo speechless. What is it? Has Mrs. Jian lost her voice suddenly? Marco Jian inquired, noticing Mrs. Jian's silence. Romeo, why are you silent? Have you forgotten how to speak? Marco directed his attention to his son also. Daddy, I'm sorry, Romeo pleaded, anticipating his father's reprimand. Marco Jian seemed displeased with Romeo's tardiness in responding to his question. Seems like little Master Jian's memory is slipping. Shall I remind you? Marco asked his son, his tone stern as he addressed Romeo. Marco Jian seemed displeased. Noticing Marco's approach, Sophia Tang instinctively pulled Romeo closer to her, pleading, "Please stay away from us." Sarah Tang said as she stepped back and stumbled, almost falling, but Marco caught her by the waist. Leaning in, Marco questioned Sophia about her fears. Still trying to hide, he teased her. He's just a child. Knowing he's wrong and willing to change is enough. You must not be harsh on him. Beat me if you need to beat someone, Sophia said, clutching onto Romeo. Marco was left speechless and angry at Sophia's defense of Romeo. Do you really think I would harm a woman, Mrs. Jian? Marco asked Sophia, his tone softening. And not at all, Sophia replied, smiling nervously while trembling, effectively diffusing Marco's anger towards Romeo. Would I dare to say yes, she thought, considering Marco's question. Marco held Sophia's arm, gently questioning her fears. Then, Mrs. Jian, what is it that you're afraid of? Sophia blushed at his words, feeling a mixture of embarrassment and attraction. Sophia stuttered, I'm not sure. Is that so? Then we'll never know unless we try it, Marco said, pulling Sophia closer. Sophia blushed at his words. The couple was about to kiss when Romeo cried out in pain, clutching his stomach. Roro! Sophia shouted as they rushed to his aid, calling for a guard to fetch Michael Zhong. Marco, carrying Romeo, instructed the guard to hurry. What's wrong with Romeo? Sophia asked, her concern evident. What did he eat last night? Marco demanded, his tone firm. Sophia confessed to them the lists of what they ate. Marco tried to conceal his anger. Roro is like this because of me. I'm sorry, Sophia said sorrowfully. Li informed Marco Jian of Michael Zhong's arrival. Michael Zhong then demanded for him to be put on the bed, which Marco did. It hurts. I want Grandma, Romeo whimpered, tears welling in his eyes as he clutched his stomach. Michael Zhong reassured them that Romeo's condition had stabilized but warned against future dietary indiscretions. His immune system cannot handle such stress, Michael Zhong cautioned. I'll be leaving now, Michael said to Marco Jian. Sophia was upset with herself. Let's go too, Marco told her, heading out of Romeo's room. Wait, your son is sick and needs someone with him. Are you sure about leaving? Sofia questioned Marco. Marco assured her that the butler and servants would attend to Romeo. Let's go back and rest early, Marco suggested to Sophia. How can we rest when the child is suffering? Sophia resisted, unwilling to leave Romeo alone, which left Marco speechless. Madam, Master has been working all day, Li interjected. You don't have to stay, but I'm staying here tonight. I caused this, I need to take responsibility, Sophia declared firmly as she interrupted the butler's words. Up to you, Marco Jian said as he left the room, leaving Sophia and Li alone. Sophia, concerned, asked Li about little Romeo's condition. Li explained that little Romeo had been fragile since birth due to his mother's medication during pregnancy. Despite their efforts to care for him, he still faced health challenges. Sophia expressed her dismay at the cruelty of fate towards such a young child. Li tried to comfort her, mentioning that little Romeo would likely find solace with her here to dote on him in future. Later that night, little Romeo developed a fever reaching 39 degrees Celsius. Fortunately, Michael arrived in time to administer medication, bringing down his temperature temporarily. Sophia felt relieved as the fever subsided. However, in the early hours, little Romeo was disturbed by a nightmare, screaming and pleading not to be approached. Sophia called out to him, addressing him by his nickname Roro, as he struggled with the nightmare of being chased by ghosts. About to be struck by a ghost in his nightmare, little Romeo cried out for his mother's help. Sophia watched him with concern, leaning forward to reassure him not to be scared. Delighted by her presence, little Romeo called her a pretty lady as she comforted him, reminding him that mommy was there for him. Late into the night, the door opened as Marco and Lee entered little Romeo's room to find Sophia sleeping beside him. They admired the scene, seeing the two of them cuddled together peacefully. Marco couldn't resist joining them, cuddling his family as they slept peacefully. Upon waking up, Sophia noticed little Romeo wasn't beside her as she screamed, "Where's Roro?" "I accidentally fell asleep. Where's Roro?" she demanded, a hint of panic in her voice. She found him and his father in the dining room, waiting for her. Little Romeo greeted her with a smile, calling her a pretty lady, as she held his face. Concerned about his health, Sophia advised little Romeo to be careful with his diet in the future. Little Romeo cheekily pointed out that he had only accompanied her because she wanted him to, eliciting a smile from Sophia. Daddy, I have something very important to talk to you about," he said. What is it?" Marco demanded, his tone expectant. Later, little Romeo surprised everyone by solemnly telling Marco that he and Sophia were truly in love and he wanted her for himself. Sophia was taken aback by his unexpected declaration. "How can you be sure she loves you?" Marco Gian asked his son, little Romeo. "Because she picked me up from school and brought me delicious food I'd never tried before," Romeo explained. "She even slept next to me when I was sick last night. You saw it yourself. She touched my forehead with hers." "These are all the proofs," he said. Marco raised an eyebrow. "That's it?" he demanded. "What about you? What did you do with the pretty lady?" Romeo asked, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. Marco puffed out his chest. "We slept together," he declared, eager to prove Sophia's affection. Marco chuckled, a hint of awkwardness in his voice. Sophia, who hadn't spoken yet, blushed slightly at Marco's choice of words, thinking to herself, "Hey, are you sure it's okay to tell a kid something like that?" Undeterred, Romeo crossed his arms. "So what? We slept together as well, cuddling each other all night." Marco sighed, a playful smile on his face. "Come here, Sophia," he beckoned to his wife. Sophia hesitated, sensing a potential competition brewing. "It's probably nothing good," she thought cautiously as she pretended not to see. Marco gave her a devilish look, causing her to relent as she ran over to him with a sobbing face. Marco's smile widened, taking her arm gently. Before Sophia could react, he scooped her up and placed her on his lap. "See, Romeo?" Marco said, a teasing glint in his eye. "Can you carry Sophia like this?" Sophia, perched on her husband's lap, couldn't help but smile at the childish display. "This is getting a little out of hand. He is actually competing with a kid," she thought. Undeterred, Romeo declared, "I can do that too, when I grow up." Marco's smile faltered slightly as he exclaimed, his curiosity piqued. Suddenly competitive, Marco turned to Sophia. Leaning in, he planted a playful kiss on her lips, a mischievous glint in his eyes as Sophia playfully begged him not to. Romeo cried out as he whined, You. I'm going to tell Grandma that you're bullying the weak." Marco chuckled and said, "Only useless kids like to tell on others in front of the adults," leaving Romeo stunned. I was just trying to scare you. No matter what, I'll make sure pretty lady becomes my wife." "Just you wait," he declared, his tone determined, before darting away from the scene. "I'll be waiting for it then," Marco replied knowingly, watching Romeo dart away. Sophia looked at Romeo concernedly. Sophia, who had been watching the exchange, spoke up. "Is it okay for him to be like this?" she asked Marco. "Yes." "Okay, let's go," he said, sweeping her up into his arms. I can walk by myself," she protested as he carried her. "Where are we going?" she wondered as he gently placed her on the bed. "Make your preparations, we're going to the office," he informed her. "Why must I go to your office with you?" she demanded, suddenly taking off his shirt, causing her to scream in surprise. Why did you take off your clothes?" she exclaimed, shielding her eyes with her hand. He looked at her tenderly as he approached, gently holding her cheek. Mrs. Jen, I'm looking forward to reliving that night," he murmured softly to her. Don't come near me," she said, her voice trembling with uncertainty. Sophia felt Marco Jen lean in closer. "Didn't you say we're going to the office?" she managed to murmur before his lips captured hers in a kiss. Marco pulled back slightly, whispering, "Little beauty, it's been so long since I touched a woman. I'm already at my limits." Sophia hit him to stop, but he said, "Be good," and, before Sophia lost consciousness and collapsed onto the bed. Marco, alarmed, called for Michael Zhong, who was still in the house after treating a patient earlier. Grabbing him by the collar, Marco said, "Give her a checkup now." "Your woman," Michael demanded as Marco told him to cut the crap. Michael quickly assessed her condition, explaining to Marco that she had likely fainted from shock due to her weakened state. Marco was puzzled by Michael's diagnosis, too weak, but Michael explained that Sophia's past trauma had left her with a delicate constitution, prone to fainting spells triggered by stress or shock. Michael advised Marco to let her rest and recover slowly without overstimulation. "You can scram now," Marco told him as he protested, calling him a heartless man and tossing him away after using him. Ignoring Michael's protests about being dismissed abruptly, Marco ordered the nanny to prepare nourishing food for Sophia and left for the office. Later in the day, Sophia regained consciousness, slowly coming to after her fainting spell. "I fainted again," she thought. Nanny Zhang, for her well-being, offered to call the doctor, but Sophia assured her it was just an old ailment and insisted on picking up little Romeo from school. As she made her way to the school, Sophia couldn't shake off the surreal feeling of her life's recent upheaval. Just yesterday she was enduring humiliation as the target of Wayne Luo's revenge, but now everything seems to have changed for the better. The sudden shift to happiness felt almost too good to be true. "I hope it won't be the same as 5 years ago," she thought, a hint of apprehension lingering beneath her newfound joy. Her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice calling her name. It was Chloe, her long-lost best friend. "Chloe? Long time no see," she said. "That's right, it's been so long. Are you okay?" Chloe asked, concern evident in her voice. Sophia's mind was consumed with questions about her past. She pressed Chloe for answers about her sudden disappearance 5 years ago. "Chloe, please tell me. What exactly happened 5 years ago? I was about to have a wedding. How did I disappear? When I woke up in the hospital, why did everyone say I was gone for a year and that I had a child with another man? And why did you marry someone from the Tang family? And why have you been avoiding me?" Chloe apologized, visibly uncomfortable, but before she could respond, her young daughter intervened, accusing Sophia of bullying her mother. Sophia was stunned by the accusation and the revelation of Chloe's child. As Chloe hurriedly dismissed her daughter's words, "Annie, say sorry to Auntie. She's my best friend. Why would she bully me?" Annie replied, "If she is your best friend, then why didn't she protect you when Grandma, and Auntie were bullying you?" Sophia was shocked by the revelation, calling out Chloe's name in disbelief. "Don't listen to the words of a child. We'll be leaving now. Annie, say goodbye to Auntie," Chloe said as Annie bid Sophia goodbye. Sophia was left standing there, bewildered by her friend's actions and the unexpected turn of events. Little Romeo eagerly called out to Sophia, expressing his excitement to see her. "Come, let's go home," Sophia suggested. But little Romeo had a different craving in mind. "No, I want to get a burger," he insisted, despite Sophia's concern for his recent recovery. "No, I want it," he demanded. Attempting to divert his attention, Sophia suggested cooking together at home instead. Little Romeo's eyes lit up at the idea. "Really?" he exclaimed, already imagining the delicious meal. Sophia assured him, with the condition that he behaved well. Meanwhile, Nanny Zhang offered to prepare whatever little Romeo desired, but he insisted on Sophia's cooking. "It's okay, Nanny Zhang. Even though I don't look like it, I can still cook well, she said. As Sophia began preparing the meal, Nanny Zhang found the situation peculiar. Marco Jian, entering the kitchen, complimented his wife's cooking skills. However, little Romeo, possessive of Sophia's attention, shooed his father away. Marco then gently reminded little Romeo about his homework. I don't want to do homework, Romeo said as Marco replied to him, then you will be a kid forever and you won't be able to get a wife, leading him to realize the importance of responsibility as he left to do his homework. Alone in the kitchen, Marco approached Sophia romantically, complimenting the aroma of her cooking as he asked what she was cooking. Sophia replied to him, porridge. Marco playfully teased her, I didn't expect Mrs. Jian to be so capable. Maintaining her boundaries, she gently rebuffed his advances. Marco playfully teased her about her lack of romance as he left. Sophia gently reminded herself of his prominent status compared to her temporary role as his wife. As they gathered for dinner, Sophia affectionately called little Romeo to eat. Marco, feeling a hint of envy at their closeness, interrupted their hand-holding by embracing Sophia, which little Romeo found unsettling as he told him he was hugging his wife. Sophia found Marco's behavior somewhat childish, wondering if he truly lived up to his esteemed reputation. Little Romeo, determined to grow up quickly, eagerly finished his meal as Sophia advised him to eat slowly. Later that night, Sophia sang a lullaby to little Romeo until he fell asleep as she smiled before leaving the room. Unexpectedly, Marco, who appeared to have been waiting by the door, complimented Sophia's role as a stepmother, catching her off guard. Marco's subsequent advances towards her made Sophia uncomfortable as she reminded him of their pretend relationship. However, Marco persisted, alarming Sophia as he said, I need a wife now. A real wife, as Sophia protested. Hush! Don't make so much noise, Mrs. Jian. Do you like to play hard to get so much, he demanded. What should I do? I'm scared, she thought. I will be very happy tonight, he told her, but Sophia unintentionally called out for help, mentioning Wayne's name, which angered Marco. The situation became tense as Sophia tried to explain herself, but Marco's anger only escalated as he left. As Marco stormed out of the room, leaving Sophia behind, he barked an order, prepare a room for her tomorrow night. Li, with a solemn expression, acknowledged Marco's instructions. Yes, young master, he replied. Feeling regretful, Sophia offered a brief apology. Marco's frustration stemmed from his unexpected emotional reaction to Sophia, a fact that troubled her deeply. If for some reason my body only reacts to that woman, he said angrily, punching a wall. In moments of past fear, she habitually called out Wayne's name, but now as it escaped her lips, she realized those memories were indeed behind her. Accepting her role as Marco's wife, Sophia resolved to adapt and fully embrace her new life, she thought tearfully. Lost in contemplation, Sophia drifted off to sleep. The following morning, Li greeted her warmly and presented a steaming bowl of nourishing soup, per Marco's request. As Sophia sipped the soup, Li gently remarked on Marco's evident concern for her well-being, a sentiment shared by the household. Feeling determined to move forward and leave the past behind, Sophia made a decision. It's time for a fresh start, she mused, adopting a new resolve. And Nanny Zhang, I'm going out for a bit, she said after finishing the nourishing soup. Before stepping out, she reached out to an old friend, Shania, seeking connection and support in her journey forward. Shania, are you available now? She inquired earnestly. Come with Yo-Yo and help me move, Sophia requested over the phone, her tone determined. Sophia, you damn woman. Have you finally decided to leave that hell? Shania's response was filled with both surprise and joy. I will be right there, she promised eagerly. Sophia met up with her friends Shania and Yo-Yo, who were visibly excited to see her after a long time. Sophia, you woman, you're finally leaving Wayne. Do you know how happy we are? Shania expressed their collective sentiment. That's why I need you girls to support me here, Sophia replied earnestly, seeking reassurance. There's no need to be afraid. I'll take down anyone who stands in your way, Shania declared with a serious demeanor, ready to defend her friend. If Chloe is still around, we'll be reunited, Yo-Yo remarked with a smile, but Shania quickly shut down any mention of Chloe. Do not mention that vain woman's name, she scolded Yo-Yo firmly. Okay, let's go, Sophia directed her friends, ready to face the next chapter of her life. However, upon reaching the house and packing up her things to leave, Sophia's sister, Sarah, confronted her with disapproval. Sister, are you stealing? She asked, accompanied by Wayne's mother. Sophia, why are you here with your good-for-nothing friends so early in the morning? Wayne's mother added. Shania, not one to tolerate insults, was quick to react. How dare you insult us? I'll show you the power of her so-called good-for-nothing friends, she retorted, preparing for confrontation. Shania, let me handle this, Sophia intervened, holding Shania back. Addressing Wayne's mother, she made her stance clear. Auntie, I want to make things clear today. I, Sophia, will have nothing to do with the Luo family from now onwards. Please ask Wayne not to disturb me anymore, she stated firmly, asserting her decision. How dare you talk to me like this? You jinx! Wayne's mother retorted angrily. You made the Luo family a laughingstock at the wedding a few years back. You've been living off my son for the past 5 years, and now you're trying to leave just like this? Pay my son $1 million first, she demanded. Sophia, maintaining her composure, responded with a fake smile. Aha, $1 million. Do you know how much your son owes me? She countered calmly. My son owes you money? Do you have water in your head? Wayne's mother asked incredulously, her expression twisted in disgust. Madame Luo, despite the vulgarity coming from your mouth, how graceful can you be? Sophia argued, her patience wearing thin. Do you even know the inhuman things your dear son did? She added, her voice tinged with anger. For 5 years, in order to compensate for the mistake that I knew nothing about, I swallowed my pride and followed Wayne everywhere, enduring his neglect, abuse, exploitation, and betrayal, Sophia continued, her tone turning fiercer. He even pushed me into another man's bed himself. Now I'm cutting all ties with your son. I owe the Luo family nothing because I've already repaid my debt 1,000-fold, she declared firmly, her eyes blazing with indignation. Wayne's mother, rendered speechless, pointed accusingly at Sophia, but Sophia, ignoring her, made her way to the door with her bag. Shania, Yo-Yo, let's go, she instructed her friends. Outside, Shania expressed her pride in Sophia. Sophia, that was amazing. I love you so much, she declared warmly as they all laughed happily. I can finally say goodbye to my past and start a new life, Sophia affirmed to her friends. Let's go have some fun, girls. Meanwhile, Sarah, Sophia's sister, harbored ominous thoughts. Don't be too pleased with yourself, Sophia. You won't be able to laugh soon, she mused, hinting at a potential sinister plan. Sophia took the girls shopping at the mall. Sophia headed to the children's section, prompting Shania to question her choice. Oh wait, why are you going to the children's section? She asked. Sophia explained that she was buying clothes for her son. You found your son from 5 years ago? Shania asked in disbelief. No, I'm married. It's the child from my husband's side, Sophia clarified. Shania expressed surprise at Sophia being a stepmother at her age. Sophia calmly explained, why can't I marry a man with a child? You know it too. I might not be able to give birth to another child again. The girls tried to dissuade Sophia from accepting this as her fate, but Sophia reassured them, don't be sad for me. My husband's family is very nice to me. Shania jokingly threatened to give Sophia's husband a beating for being lucky enough to marry her. Sophia laughed and Shania asked for details about little Romeo's age and height as they picked out clothes together. Shania reminded Sophia to also consider her husband's needs while shopping. Marco's clothes are all custom-made. I bet he won't like anything from the mall, she thought as Shania showed her a cloth. Just then Wayne and Sarah entered the mall, with Sarah presenting Wayne with specially ordered clothes. Spotting Sophia, Sarah greeted her, feigning friendliness. "Meeting you in the mall, what a coincidence," she said. Shania responded casually, "Sarah Tang, you're a busy woman." Shania expressed her disapproval, noting how Sarah spent the morning showcasing her powers with Wayne's mother and now was shopping for her son in the afternoon as Sophia ignored them. Sarah, still pretending, commented on Wayne's love for the clothes in the shop, while Sarah complimented Sophia on her choice of clothes. Sarah continued her charade, suggesting clothes to Wayne with a wink, but Sophia remained unfazed, focusing on browsing through the racks. Wayne, observing Sophia, couldn't help but think about how beautiful she looked, even in such ordinary moments, as his thought was interrupted by Sarah, who called his name. Shania teased Wayne about Sophia's apparent wealthy marriage, to which Wayne reacted with shock, grabbing Sophia's arm. Sophia quickly clarified that she was indeed married but requested Wayne to release her, as her husband didn't appreciate such gestures from other men, as she seemed uneasy with Wayne's behavior. Wayne demanded to know who Sophia's husband was and expressed disbelief at her sudden marriage. Sophia calmly explained that Wayne had met him the other day at the hotel. Wayne couldn't take it. He said although she had only known him for a few days, how could they be married? Sophia replied to him, "It's true that we've just met for a few days, but he's someone that I can marry indeed. Unlike some people, even though I've known him for my whole life, he's still just like a stranger." Wayne's anger grew, insisting that Sophia should divorce her husband because she belonged to him. Sophia, taken aback, questioned Wayne's authority to make such demands. "Excuse me, who are you? What rights do you have to ask me to get a divorce?" she challenged him firmly. Wayne continued to hold Sophia's arm tightly against her will, asserting that she owed him as his fiancée and she can't leave until he tortured her enough. Sophia, feeling increasingly trapped, questioned Wayne's actions and sanity as his grip intensified. In distress, she called out to Shania and Yo-Yo to call the police for help. Shania intervened, confronting Wayne for his behavior, while Sarah questioned Shania's actions. Yo-Yo dialed the police as the situation escalated into a fight within the mall. An hour later, they found themselves at the police station. After the police officer settled the matter, Sophia apologized to her friends for the chaos. Shania, however, seemed proud of her confrontation with Wayne, boasting about leaving scratch marks on his face. Later, Wayne's mother called Sophia, expressing her disappointment and threatening her. Sophia pleaded with Madame Luo to intervene and stop Wayne's harassment, but Madame Luo only responded with more threats and aggression, even going as far as threatening physical harm. Just as Madame Luo was about to strike Sophia, Marco Jian entered the scene. "Try it," he said as Madame Luo looked confused. His presence immediately shifted the dynamics, causing Madame Luo's thoughts to run wild. "I thought this jinx had Master Jian's backing." So she offended him instead, she thought, as she was about to strike Sophia. Marco reprimanded Madame Luo for her behavior, reminding her of Sophia's status as a shareholder of the Jian group. Shocked by the revelation, she said, "Master Jian, you asked me to beat her up just now." Marco's reply was a bomb. "Would you go die if I ask you to? Apologize to her." When Madame Luo hesitated to apologize, Marco announced consequences for the Luo family's actions, freezing their relationship with the Jian group. Faced with Marco's authority, Madame Luo apologized and begged for forgiveness, showing her fear and remorse, leaving Marco angry. "Mother, what are you doing?" Wayne barked upon seeing his mom on her knees begging Marco Jian. "Marco, you are going too far," Wayne says as he rushes to punch Marco Jian, only to be stopped and pinned to the ground by one of Marco Jian's guards. Facing Sophia, Marco Jian orders her to come meet him. "Is he going to punish me publicly because I embarrassed the Jian family?" Sophia thought within herself. "Coward," Marco Jian said in a sweet manner as he touched Sophia's forehead when she got close to him. "Sir, we should go now," Li tells Marco Jian, who says, "Yes." "Oh my God, Sophia, don't tell me that he's your husband." Shania cried out in joy. "Sophia, did you save the galaxy in your past life? How could you get a man as good as that?" This won't do, we must make your husband treat us to the best restaurant in the city, Yo-Yo exclaimed. They were both happy for their friend Sophia. Sophia agrees to Yo-Yo's request but insists it would be the next time they meet. I have to pick up the kid from school now, she tells the girls. Go on, it's not easy being a stepmother. It's even harder when you're in a wealthy family, Shania says as they bid Sophia goodbye. Later that day, Marco Jian watched as his son, little Romeo, entered the house, clutching a bag tightly. What's that in your hands? Marco inquired, his tone curious. These are the clothes that the pretty lady bought for me. You can't touch them, little Romeo declared protectively, his eyes flickering with a hint of defiance towards his father. Marco couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy as he observed the thoughtful gesture from Sophia towards his son. Mrs. Jian is a really good stepmother, he remarked, his hands folded as he glanced towards Sophia with a subtle expectation in his eyes. Sophia returned Marco's gaze, understanding the unspoken request hidden behind his expression. What's this? Romeo questioned, a touch of disappointment coloring his voice as he held a jacket in his hand. It's too big for me. I don't want it, little Romeo complained, tossing the jacket to the floor with a petulant gesture. Marco sighed inwardly, noting the disparity in little Romeo's reaction to Sophia's gift compared to his own. Marco Jian picked up the discarded jacket from the floor, his gaze flickering between his son and Sophia. Your taste, he was saying as Sophia interrupted him. Give it back if you don't like it, Sophia gently instructed Marco, her tone firm yet compassionate. How can you ask for a gift back? Wash it and put it in the bedroom, Marco responded matter-of-factly, handing the cloth to Lee, his assistant. The next day little Romeo emerged wearing the clothes Sophia had chosen for him. Pretty lady, do I look good in this? He asked, seeking Sophia's approval. Sophia smiled warmly at the boy. Yes, you look so handsome, she assured him, her affectionate words causing a swell of pride in little Romeo. Feeling a pang of jealousy creeping in, Marco couldn't help but interject. What about me? He questioned, a hint of petulance tingling his tone as he sought validation from Sophia. Sophia was momentarily taken aback, her mind racing to comprehend the absence of a similar gesture towards her husband. Marco's silent plea for attention did not escape her notice, leaving her at a loss for words as he thought. This damn woman. Will it kill her to give me a compliment? Seeking to divert attention from the awkward moment, Marco proposed, come to the office with me. I've arranged some work for you. Surprised by the sudden offer, Sophia hesitated before nodding her assent. That's right, young mistress, Lee chimed in. We've arranged for you to join the planning department based on your previous experience. At the office, Sophia was introduced to the Gen E Group Planning Department. Don't worry, Secretary Lee. I'll make the necessary arrangements, the operations manager assured Lee, taking charge of Sophia's integration into the team. As Lee prepared to depart, he left her with some words, you can call me directly on the phone if you need me. Sophia expressed her gratitude. Thank you so much, she said sincerely. The operations manager was surprised as he knew immediately that she was someone important as he wasted no time in assigning Sophia a leadership role. Our new colleague in the department, Sophia, she'll be the leader of Team 5 from today, he announced confidently. However, not everyone in the department was convinced of Sophia's suitability for the role. Sir, all the leaders are people who have worked for more than 3 years. For her to be a leader when she just joined, I don't think that's appropriate, one worker voiced their concern. Another co-worker speculated, or is she an experienced professional that we hired from somewhere? If that's really the case, they've won us over with her capabilities. Sophia, feeling overwhelmed by the unexpected responsibility thrust upon her on her first day, mustered the courage to address the operations manager. Sir, for a newcomer like me to start with such an important role, it's really not appropriate. Please reconsider, she pleaded earnestly. Okay, that's decided then, get back to work, the operations manager announced, dispersing the gathering. He then turned his attention to Sophia. Let me help you familiarize with the place, he offered, leading her to her office space. As they walked, gossip buzzed among the workers. Looks like she has a pretty strong background. Being the leader on her first day, she has quite an appetite, one worker whispered to another. Sophia, overhearing the gossip, reminded herself to remain composed. It's normal for them to feel that way, just bear with it, she thought to herself, brushing off the comments. Suddenly a lady approached Sophia. Hey, Leader Tang, what do you think about the planning for this period, she inquired. Sophia remained polite. What's the theme this time, she asked, seeking clarification. The lady Ruby Shui chuckled inwardly at Sophia's apparent ignorance. I'll tell you if you call me boss, she replied smugly. Sophia complied with the request, addressing Ruby Shui as boss. However, Ruby Shui's subsequent comment struck a nerve. Oh, she really did it. Is there something wrong with her brain because she's used to screaming in bed, Ruby Shui remarked, implying that Sophia had attained her position through inappropriate means. Sophia's anger flared at the baseless accusation. I tolerated you out of respect earlier, but don't go overboard. If you're unhappy about it, you can compete against me to see who's better, she retorted sharply. Or do you think that all women at this position only got here by currying up to a man? The tension escalated as Sophia continued defensively. How many men have you slept with to reach your position in the GNE group? She challenged Ruby Shui. Ruby's temper flared. Nonsense. I've fought for my position with my own capabilities. What rights do you have to doubt me? She defended herself vehemently. Unwilling to back down, Sophia confronted Ruby Shui directly. Then, what gives you the right to slander me when you know nothing about me? She demanded. The confrontation reached a boiling point as Ruby Shui threatened Sophia. How can you be so arrogant as a newcomer? I'll tear that mouth off your face today, she spat out angrily. Undaunted, Sophia stood her ground, issuing a daring challenge. If you're not afraid of being asked to leave by my backer above, go ahead, she dared Ruby Shui, revealing her confidence in her own support within the company. Ruby Shui fell silent, realizing she may have overstepped her bounds without knowing Sophia's connections within the company. Ruby Shui left angrily, thinking, Sophia Tang, let's see how long you can stay so arrogant. The operations manager interrupted, instructing everyone to stop their work for an impromptu meeting in the meeting room. Sophia Tang was caught off guard by the abrupt announcement, and upon entering the meeting room, she noticed Marco Jian's presence, adding to her unease. As Marco Jian declared the meeting to start, Ruby Shui singled out Sophia to present a proposal, leaving her feeling unprepared. Apologies, I'm not quite ready, Sophia calmly replied. Marco Jian, with a hint of sarcasm, remarked on the apparent lack of activity in the planning department, subtly addressing the operations manager. Under the pressure from the operations manager, Ruby confidently took the stage to deliver her proposal, impressing everyone in the room, including Sophia, despite Ruby's underlying jealousy. After Ruby completed her presentation, Marco Jian's response was less than enthusiastic, leaving Ruby and the others taken aback. His cold demeanor intimidated the workers who hesitated to voice their thoughts. As Marco Jian dismissed the meeting, demanding a better proposal for the following week, Sophia reflected on the tense atmosphere and silently resolved to contribute more effectively in the future. As Marco Jian left the meeting room, Ruby Shui couldn't hide her disappointment. Months of hard work seemed to have gone to waste with Marco Jian's lukewarm response. Seeing Sophia pass by her desk, Ruby couldn't resist making a snide remark. The one who can't seem to come up with any proposals is back, Ruby remarked, her tone laced with bitterness. Sophia, feeling irritated by Ruby's comment, didn't hold back. Do you have anything else to offer besides spitting at people? She retorted. Ruby, offended by Sophia's challenge, asserted her capabilities. I earned my position through my skills. How dare you question me? She shot back coldly. Undeterred, Sophia proposed a competition to settle the matter once and for all. Ruby, relishing the chance to prove herself, suggested a high-stakes bet: loser leaves the company for good. Sophia hesitated but ultimately accepted the challenge, much to Ruby's delight. "I enjoy your last week here, Sophia," Ruby taunted as she walked away, confident in her abilities. Meanwhile, Sophia's co-workers looked on with a mix of jealousy and disbelief, considering her decision to challenge Ruby Xue as reckless. After work, Marco Jian offered to take Sophia back home, but she declined, opting instead to pick up Roro from school. Marco Jian was surprised by her decision but complied. At the school, Roro was thrilled to see Sophia. "A pretty lady, I have a nickname for you," he said with excitement. "As Sophia Tang, I can absolutely call you sweetie if you'd like," Romeo replied while Sophia agreed to the nickname. When Marco arrived unexpectedly, little Romeo expressed surprise and disdain at his father's presence. Marco responded by reminding little Romeo of the need for discipline. "Sweetie, I want a burger," little Romeo demanded, to which Sophia suggested making it at home. Marco felt neglected by Sophia's decision to leave him alone. At the supermarket, Marco was surprised as it was his first time there. Little Romeo pointed out what he wanted, including items out of reach. Marco stepped in to help, earning Sophia's gratitude. Marco wondered why Sophia seemed quieter with him compared to when she was with little Romeo. He offered to fetch anything else they needed, causing Sophia to blush. Observing them, others envied their apparent happiness as a family. Little Romeo saw something and showed Sophia kitchen mittens to protect her hands, and she affectionately called him sweet. Little Romeo looked at his father, contemplating their dynamic. Marco handed Sophia his gold-plated debit card, telling her it had no limits, leaving her stunned. Little Romeo commented on Marco's reliance on money, infuriating him. Sophia, calling Marco honey as she touched his face, suggested hurrying home to cook, and Marco held her hand, feeling a sense of connection. Sophia discreetly wanted to free her hands as she needed to get some tomatoes. A faint blush adorned her cheeks as Marco Jian noticed her subtle gesture. Their hands found each other. "All right, let's follow Mrs. Jian's instructions and grab those tomatoes," Marco Jian suggested, guiding Sophia along. With the rest of the shopping completed, they headed home. Upon arrival, Sophia embarked on preparing the burgers, but Marco Jian seemed reluctant to release her hand. "I can't cook properly if you keep holding on," she gently protested. Nanny Zhang observed the tender moment with a knowing smile. "Perhaps I should take over," she offered cheerfully, but Romeo insisted that Sophia should prepare the meal or he will fast. Their son, little Romeo, chimed in, expressing his preference for Sophia's cooking. When Marco dismissed his request harshly, little Romeo retreated to his room in tears, declaring his dislike for his father. Sophia called after him, her heart aching at the sight of his distress. "He's just a child, Marco." "Was that really necessary?" she questioned. Marco remained unmoved, asserting that life could be harsh, especially for someone from the Jian family, so he should know about it earlier. "I didn't know you're such a heartless person," she declared, withdrawing her hand from his grasp. Marco, angry at her words, replied, "Mrs. Jian's kindness is impressive indeed. You care so much about someone who has no relation to you." Sophia's hurt was palpable as she acknowledged her outsider status. "I overstepped my bounds. I'll be more mindful in the future," she uttered before leaving the kitchen abruptly. Despite Li's attempt to explain Marco's intentions, Sophia was too upset to listen. The atmosphere was tense, with Sophia feeling the weight of Marco's words, and Li's attempts at reconciliation falling on deaf ears. "Roro," Sophia softly called out as she entered little Romeo's room. Rushing into her arms tearfully, he expressed his fear of being left alone. "I love you the most, why would I ever leave you?" she reassured him, stroking his back gently. Little Romeo confessed that he had been diligently working on his homework. Pleased with his efforts, Sophia suggested making burgers for him, to which he acquiesced. Guiding him to the kitchen, she handed him a burger, to which she cautioned him about the hotness of the food. Little Romeo eagerly tasted the burger, declaring it delicious and offering Sophia a bite, which she accepted with a smile. He asked her if she would accompany him till he fell asleep, to which Sophia readily acquiesced. Later that night, ensuring he drifted off peacefully, she stayed by his side until he was in slumber. Lee approached Sophia, requesting her help in sending over some food to Marco Jian to eat. Sophia, still resentful towards Marco, responded curtly. "Why must I do that? Can't you send it over?" Lee replied that he did, but the young master wouldn't eat as he really treats her well whether she believes it or not. Lee cautiously approached Sophia, his voice hushed as he began to reveal a long-kept secret. "Young mistress, I must share something with you, but it's imperative that the young master remains unaware," he confided. "Little master was born without the young master's knowledge," Lee disclosed, unfolding a tale that left Sophia stunned. "You see, the young master has never been close with women, and I believe you are aware of that." Sophia nodded, absorbing the unexpected revelation. Lee continued, recounting a story of little Romeo's origin. Apparently, his mother had harbored a deep admiration for Marco Jian. In her misguided pursuit of his affection, she resorted to spiking his drink and taking advantage of him, hoping it would lead to marriage. However, Marco Jian had no romantic feelings for her, and when he discovered her scheme, he compensated her with a substantial sum of money, urging her to leave. The plot thickened as Lee revealed that little Romeo's mother returned, pregnant and claiming Marco Jian as the father. "So little Romeo is born out of wedlock?" Sophia asked, struggling to comprehend the intricacies of the story. "Yes, unfortunately," Lee confirmed. Tragically, little Romeo's mother died during childbirth, leaving him as a living testament to a difficult chapter in Marco Jian's past. Despite the circumstances, Marco Jian had never considered abandoning his son. However, his upbringing was stern, and he found it challenging to express affection towards children. This realization shed light on his cold demeanor towards little Romeo, Sophia thought. As the weight of the revelation settled on Sophia, she found herself speechless, understanding the complexities that had shaped the relationship between the young master and little Romeo. Thank you for joining us on this incredible adventure. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking, subscribing, and ringing that notification bell. Your comments mean the world to us and help us improve. The next episode promises even more excitement and unexpected twists, so stay tuned as we embark on this thrilling journey together. Keep the anticipation alive, and we'll catch you in the next episode.